Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
Now think about it. When someone like Donald Trump's most loyal insider, the person he chose as FBI director, is forced to testify under oath, things get intense. This is the same guy who's had Trump's back on everything from classified documents to the events of January 6th and even the Epstein scandal. Imagine what it must be like when that guy gets immunity from prosecutors because they believe he might incriminate himself. When Kash Patel had to sit in front of a grand jury and spill the truth, it's clear that dark admissions were made. I mean, these are things you'd never imagine him saying in public.
As I've said since the beginning, Senator, it is very much an ongoing investigation, and I can't speak to the state charges. That's for the state to address on their own, but we are providing them with the same investigatory findings reporting the department. And as I noted to Senator, I believe it was Cornyn or Hawley, that there are a number of individuals.
Things that could not only jeopardize Trump's defense, but could land both of them behind bars. Here's a lesser-known fact. Kash Patel actually invoked the Fifth Amendment twice during the grand jury probe regarding Trump's mishandling of classified documents. After that, the prosecutors gave him immunity, compelling him to testify. Whatever came out during that testimony, those hidden secrets are currently in Jack Smith's sealed report. Now, Senate Democrats are clamoring for access to it, arguing that the public deserves to know what Patel revealed, what he confessed to, and what evidence might confirm that both he and Trump broke the law. If that report gets out and those secrets are unveiled, it's not just his job he's risking. He could be looking at prison time, and so could Trump. Honestly, it's a wild situation.
Did you or Attorney General Bondi provide any individual with a waiver so they could remain employed after they received disqualifying alerts on their polygraphs?
I'll have to get back to you.
You don't remember that?
No, sir. My priority is protecting the American public, not getting into the weeds of polygraphs.
And to have a decent memory when you come before a committee.
Let's dive back into this interesting situation. So, we're talking about Kash Patel, who's deeply involved in a bunch of high-profile investigations, everything from the classified documents case to the chaos surrounding Epstein, and even those pardons related to January 6th. That's a lot on his plate. Back in late 2022, while Jack Smith was looking into how Trump handled those classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, he decided to call Patel in to testify before a grand jury.
When you took over the FBI, did you find instances of where the Biden administration had politicized the FBI to prosecute its political agenda?
Well, I won't speak for other people. Haven't been a target of that weaponization, haven't been a staffer on the House Intelligence Committee.
But here's where it gets interesting. Patel chose to invoke the Fifth Amendment not once, but twice. That's his way of saying, I'm not answering because I might end up in hot water if I do. You know, sometimes telling the whole truth can be a recipe for trouble. The prosecutors picked up on this and figured he had some serious exposure, some info that could potentially land him in legal trouble. So they offered him limited immunity. Basically, it was a deal where he had to spill the beans, but they promised not to turn his words against him. Instead, they'd use what he said to go after someone else, in this case, Trump.
Does Donald Trump appear anywhere in the Epstein files?
I didn't say it was a complicated question. I just didn't hear you, so my apologies. We have released where President Trump's name's in the Epstein files and everybody else, and all credible information that we are legally allowed to release has been released.
All right, so let's go through that.
Now, whatever Patel revealed during that testimony must have been quite the bombshell because Senate Democrats are now clamoring for a look at it. Senators Adam Schiff and Dick Durbin sent a formal letter early in 2025 requesting access to Volume 2 of Jack Smith's classified documents report, specifically the part about Patel. They highlighted that this report holds crucial evidence about Patel's nomination as FBI director, particularly focusing on the truthfulness, reliability, and respect he has for classified information. In simple terms, Patel likely said things under oath that don't line up with what he publicly claimed.
The FBI has fired 3 special agents linked to the Jack Smith probe of U.S. President Donald Trump. At least 2 of the agents were dismissed, according to reports. These agents were previously named in Senator Chuck Grassley's documents on the Arctic Frost investigation. Arctic Frost was the precursor to Smith's probe.
It's honestly hard to believe he said that out loud. Senate Democrats are pushing to make some information public that could really shake things up. They've got evidence showing that Kash Patel lied and knew Trump's defense about those classified documents was nonsense. If Patel's immunity testimony undermines Trump's whole story, especially if it reveals that Trump never actually declassified the documents and that Patel helped set up a false defense, both of them could be in really serious legal trouble.
You're referring to court orders that prohibit you from releasing grand jury testimony under Rule 6E. Is that what you're referring to when you say as the law allows?
That's a piece of it.
Really? What other evidence do those 3 court orders you cited prohibit from being released?
Information that was collected pursuant to those search warrants that were limited.
Wrong.
But it doesn't stop there. There are sworn statements from former FBI agents involved in civil lawsuits, agents who face tough times because of Patel's actions. In these documents, they've sworn that Patel acknowledged certain actions were against FBI policies. He was aware that some of those firings might be illegal and recognized that he could end up facing lawsuits. Yet he went ahead with it all because the White House and Trump in particular demanded it. Even knowing those orders were illegal, Patel complied. Now, those private admissions of his are laid out in sworn statements and court documents. If prosecutors decide to move forward and charge Patel with abuse of power or obstruction, those statements could serve as evidence against him, proof that he knew what he was doing was wrong, but did it anyway. Now, what exactly did Patel admit while under immunity? What's in that sealed report? How close are he and Trump to facing real criminal charges based on Patel's own words? This isn't just idle talk. A federal prosecutor offered immunity because they really needed Patel's testimony to build their case. Senate Democrats are claiming there's some serious damaging material locked away in a report, and those sworn statements back up that Patel acknowledged engaging in illegal acts. Everything is lining up, pointing towards significant trouble for both Patel and Trump. Let's break it down. First off, when prosecutors grant immunity, it's not a gift. It's a strategic move. They only do it when they believe a person has valuable information that could incriminate someone more significant, like Trump in this situation. When Kash Patel showed up before a grand jury in late 2022 and pleaded the Fifth, prosecutors knew he had information that could potentially prove Trump committed crimes, but Patel kept quiet because speaking up could put him in hot water, too. So they struck a deal. They'd give him immunity, ensuring his words wouldn't be used against him. So here's the deal. When you testify, you need to be honest. There's no getting around it. And if you decide to lie, immunity won't save you from perjury charges. That's exactly what Kash Patel did. He talked about Trump's management of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. He shared what Trump had said regarding the declassification of those documents, including what he knew and when he knew it. Now, this is significant because Patel had publicly insisted that Trump had declassified a whole bunch of documents before leaving office, claiming it was all above board, that he had the authority to take those materials. This was essentially Trump's defense, no crime committed because everything was declassified. But guess what? The prosecutors weren't buying it. They felt that Patel's claims lacked solid backing and might even be false. That's why they needed him under oath to get to the bottom of whether his testimony truly reflected what he had been saying in public. And judging by the response we see now, it seems it didn't align at all. If it did, Senate Democrats wouldn't be pushing for access to his testimony or saying it includes critical information that contradicts his public statements. Here's where it gets really tricky for Trump. If Patel confessed under immunity that Trump didn't follow the proper declassification procedures, if he admitted that Trump's claims about the documents were a lie and recognized that Trump knew he shouldn't have taken them, Then Patel just took a wrecking ball to Trump's entire defense because Trump's argument hinges on the idea that everything was declassified and legal. If the person who was supposed to affirm that story says otherwise, where does that leave Trump? Nowhere good, that's for sure. This situation makes the case regarding classified documents, which Jack Smith has already claimed has evidence beyond a reasonable doubt, much stronger. You now have someone from Trump's inner circle conceding that the defense is a sham. But the fallout doesn't end there. Senate Democrats are specifically asking for Volume 2 of Jack Smith's report, the section that focuses on classified documents and, more importantly, Patel's testimony and actions. In their letter, Senator Schiff and Durbin said the report holds evidence about Patel's credibility and his handling of classified information. That's some strong language right there. They're basically saying they suspect Patel lied, mishandled classified materials, and helped Trump craft a misleading defense. They're after the evidence that supports those claims. So here's the deal with Kash Patel. It looks like he might really be in hot water, especially if Jack Smith has got evidence of Patel spinning different stories all over the place. One for the media, another for the grand jury, and yet another for Congress. It's honestly hard to believe he said that out loud because it means he's not just losing his gig as the FBI director. He could also be facing some serious charges like perjury and obstruction, among others. And the plot thickens because Patel's been questioned under oath about the Epstein files. He's had to face Congress to explain how the FBI was dealing with those documents, including all the redactions and those mysteriously missing records. Those Democrats were tough on him, suggesting he's been running a sort of elite protection racket, shielding powerful guys while ignoring the victims, claiming he was just following Trump's orders to cover things up. Patel's been sticking to his guns, denying all those accusations, insisting he's following the law and keeping everything above board. But if Jack Smith's report proves otherwise, if it turns out Patel knew files were being withheld, and there are records showing that he helped Trump hide Epstein's connections, then his testimony in Congress could easily become perjury. Not to mention his claims of innocence could look like obstruction of justice. Now, when Patel took over as FBI director, he didn't waste any time. He started letting go of agents and investigators that Trump considered disloyal. Those former agents have since filed lawsuits, including whistleblower claims, and in those court documents, they've shared some pretty damaging statements. Apparently, Patel privately admitted that some of those firings went against FBI policies, suggesting he knew certain actions were likely illegal, and yet he went ahead because the White House wanted it done. Patel's loyalty to Trump seems unwavering, even with the understanding that what he was doing wasn't right. Now, these statements are under oath and officially recorded, and if prosecutors want to move forward with abuse of power charges, those admissions could become key evidence. They could show that he not only knew he was breaking the law, but was doing it all to serve Trump, not to uphold justice or protect the country. That's the type of evidence that could land someone in a lot of trouble, demonstrating clear intent and a conscious decision to break the law. Everything seems to be pointing towards Kash Patel being in a whole lot of trouble. He's been involved in every significant Trump scandal. We're talking about everything from classified documents to the Epstein files, pardons relating to January 6th, and even issues with the FBI. In each of these cases, it looks like he knew a lot more than he's letting on, and he was well aware that what he was doing was illegal. He had a role in helping Trump create defenses that weren't true. Now, with sealed immunity testimony in Jack Smith's report, sworn statements from former FBI agents, and Senate Democrats pushing for access to all the details, Patel's situation is becoming quite serious. He's not merely a witness at this stage, he's now a target. If prosecutors decide to take action using that immunity testimony to charge Trump and the sworn statements against Patel himself, it spells potential prison time for both of them. Jack Smith has already concluded that there's enough proof, beyond a reasonable doubt, that Trump committed crimes relating to the classified documents. He stated that the evidence is solid enough to lead to a conviction. The only reason Trump isn't behind bars right now is due to his presidency, as Department of Justice policy prevents the prosecution of a sitting president. But Patel, he's not a president. He's just the former FBI director. If there's proof he lied under oath, obstructed justice, or violated the law, charges could be brought against him at any moment. And if that happens, Patel might just become the weak link in this whole saga. He could easily flip, finding that the best way to save himself is to share everything he knows. This poses a significant issue for Trump because if Patel decides to cooperate fully for a deal, he could share everything. What Trump told him about the classified documents, instructions regarding the Epstein files, directives concerning the FBI purges, all of it. When you combine that testimony with Jack Smith's gathered evidence, documents, recordings, and witness statements, it creates a daunting case for Trump, one that he wouldn't be able to defend, whether it leads to impeachment. If the Democrats take Congress or criminal prosecution after Trump leaves office, Patel's testimony is crucial. If his own freedom is at stake and cooperation is his only option, he'll talk. Once he starts talking, it could be the end for Trump. Senate Democrats are fully aware of the implications here. That's why they're pushing hard to get their hands on Jack Smith's report. They're specifically interested in Patel's testimony because they know it's a game changer. It goes against what Trump has been claiming. And if they can make Patel's admissions public, it could seriously undermine Trump's credibility. This would not only show voters that Trump has been dishonest, but also give Democrats the leverage they need for impeachment if they regain control of Congress or for potential criminal referrals if they don't. Either way, Patel's confessions, what he revealed while under oath, could lead to his own prison time and mark the end for Trump. To really understand Patel's situation, it's important to see how it all connects. Not just one individual in legal trouble, but an insider whose words could take down not just himself, but Trump and others tangled up in these scandals. So let's break it down. First off, Patel initially took the Fifth Amendment before a grand jury, which is significant. When someone does that, it means answering questions could land them in hot water. But then the prosecutors granted him immunity. This is a big deal because it suggests they needed what he had to say to build a case against someone bigger, in this instance, Trump. So rather than being a shield, Patel's immunity is more like a nudge from prosecutors pushing him to testify. Whatever he divulged is on the record in Jack Smith's report, and it's severe enough that Senate Democrats are clamoring for access since they know it counters Patel's public statements about declassification. And here's the kicker. Contradictions made under oath can be classified as perjury, which can lead straight to prison. Secondly, Senate Democrats claimed that Smith's report has damning evidence related to Patel. Senators Schiff and Durbin have requested specific details from the classified documents report that discuss Patel and raised concerns about his trustworthiness and credibility in protecting classified information. This request isn't just routine. It suggests they suspect Patel has lied, and they want to make that information public. If it turns out Patel provided conflicting accounts, saying one thing to Breitbart, another to the grand jury, and another to Congress, he could be in serious legal trouble. Lying to federal investigators, lying to Congress, and perjury are all offenses and can lead to prison time. Kash Patel has been a strong supporter of Donald Trump, especially regarding the classified documents case. He even claimed that Trump declassified a whole bunch of materials and that it was all perfectly legal. But it turns out prosecutors think that's not true at all. They want Patel to testify under oath and immunity, so he has to tell the whole truth. If it turns out that Patel admits Trump didn't actually follow the official procedures for declassifying those documents, then everything falls apart for Trump. That defense goes right out the window, and the evidence Jack Smith already has, which supposedly proves crimes beyond a reasonable doubt, only gets stronger with Patel's own words confirming it was all a lie. What's really fascinating is that Patel has also made statements under oath where he admitted to illegal actions. Some former FBI agents that were let go during Patel's time are now suing him. And in their lawsuits, they're sharing details about how he privately acknowledged that certain actions broke FBI rules. He even admitted he knew some firings might be illegal and that he was risking lawsuits, but he followed through because the White House, Trump specifically, wanted it done. Those admissions are in court documents, and if prosecutors take action, They could charge Patel with abuse of power or obstruction. Those statements could serve as evidence proving his intent and knowledge of the wrongdoing. It's wild how Patel is wrapped up in every big Trump scandal. Whether it's the classified documents mess, the Epstein files, or January 6th, his name keeps popping up. There's a growing pile of evidence suggesting he was aware of the wrongness of his actions and even helped Trump cover things up. Everything, immunity testimony, sworn statements, requests from the Senate for sealed reports, congressional testimony under oath points to the same conclusion. Patel broke the law. He lied, and without cooperation, he might end up facing prison time. And here's the kicker. Patel doesn't have the same protection as Trump. As a sitting president, Trump is shielded from prosecution thanks to Department of Justice policies. But Patel, he's just the FBI director and lacks that kind of immunity. He could be charged at any moment if there's solid evidence against him. So here's the situation with Kash Patel. Once prosecutors decided to take action, he found himself staring down an indictment. At that point, any loyalty he had to Trump just vanished because really nobody's going to risk prison to protect someone else, especially not when that someone else is safe from prosecution while you're left to take the blame. The logical move for Patel here is to flip, to cooperate with prosecutors and share everything he knows in exchange for a lighter sentence. If he goes that route, it could mean big trouble for Trump. The prosecutors have this classic strategy where they apply pressure on lower-level associates to climb up the ladder to bigger targets. They charge insiders, threaten them with prison time, and then dangle a deal in front of them. Cooperate with us, and we'll reduce your sentence. Don't cooperate, and you might be looking at years behind bars. Patel is a prime target for the squeeze. He's been involved in everything and is now potentially facing serious criminal charges. They can threaten him with perjury, obstruction, and abuse of power charges and then say, or you can cooperate. Tell us what Trump directed, what you knew, what actually happened, and we'll recommend some leniency. With that choice laid out in front of him, it's pretty unlikely Patel is going to keep quiet because risking prison for Trump just doesn't seem worth it, especially when Trump is safe from the same fate due to presidential immunity, while Patel is left holding the bag. Now, if Patel's testimony comes out in public, it could completely dismantle Trump's defense. Right now, Trump's stance on the classified documents is that he declassified everything and acted within the law. But if Patel admits under oath that Trump didn't follow the right procedures to declassify them, then that defense crumbles to dust. Prosecutors could use Patel's words to show Trump was lying, that those documents were still classified, and that he broke the law. And the tough part for Trump is that it's coming from his own guy, his former FBI director, testifying under immunity that the entire defense was a fabrication. That's a serious blow. It could end the case right there. Lastly, it's becoming clear that the path to prison is laid out for both of them. Jack Smith has already determined there's enough proof to show beyond a reasonable doubt that Trump committed crimes. The evidence is there for a conviction. The only thing holding back the prosecution, just the DOJ policy. But once Trump is out of office and that protection evaporates, things are going to look very different. So here's the situation. Kash Patel recently admitted some pretty serious stuff under oath. He testified with immunity about Trump's classified documents and even made statements that suggest he was involved in illegal activities, including the firings at the FBI. All of his admissions are tucked away in sealed reports and court documents, just sitting there. Now, Senate Democrats are really pushing to get access to all of this. They want the public to know what Patel has confessed to, what he's admitted, and what evidence they have showing both him and Trump might have broken the law. If this evidence gets released, things could get really messy for both Patel and Trump. It's honestly hard to believe he was so open about it. Meanwhile, the Democrats are building an impeachment case. They're using Patel's testimony and highlighting his contradictions to lay the groundwork. If they end up taking Congress in the midterms, they're planning to call Patel to testify and demand those sealed portions of Smith's report. They're trying to show that Trump's own former FBI director testified against him, which doesn't paint a great picture. They're saying this isn't just cheap political shots. It's his own team confessing under oath. That's a game changer. and it makes impeachment look not just plausible, but almost inevitable. The reality is Patel knows he's in deep. That's probably why his confirmation hearings were so rough. He's fighting tooth and nail to keep Jack Smith's report sealed because he's aware of what he admitted. If that information goes public and prosecutors decide to take action, he could be looking at serious legal trouble, indictment, trial, possibly prison. So his best bet to flip and cooperate with the prosecutors. If he gives them everything they need to convict Trump, he might just save himself. And that's where everything stands right now. It's pretty clear that the situation is looking serious for Patel, Trump, and everyone tangled up in these scandals. There's already solid evidence and documented testimony showing the crimes that have taken place. Right now, the only thing keeping them from facing the music is political protection, specifically Trump being in office and the Republicans having control in Congress. But once that political shield goes away, whether it's because Democrats take charge or Trump steps down, the evidence will come into play, cases will be reopened, and those dark secrets that Kash Patel admitted to while under immunity will turn into a foundation for criminal convictions for both him and Trump. They won't be able to do a thing to stop it. The admissions have been made, the evidence is in place, and the path to prison has been pretty much cleared. That's all for today. If you're interested in following Patel's legal issues and what happens when those secrets finally come to light, feel free to join our newsletter links below and catch you in the next update.